Hi guys, today we are going to find out what if Steve Jobs had never returned to Apple. You're standing in Cupertino, California, watching one of tech's most dramatic death spirals unfold in real time. It's 1997, and Apple is hemorrhaging money faster than a punctured spaceship loses air in the vacuum of space. CEO Gil Amelio stumbles through boardroom meetings, his PowerPoint presentations as exciting as watching paint dry on a rainy Tuesday. You witness quarterly losses mounting into the hundreds of millions while Microsoft's Windows 95 celebrates global domination. The company's market share has plummeted to a pathetic 3%, making Apple about as relevant as a floppy disk in 2023. Employee morale hits rock bottom as talented engineers jump ship to more promising Silicon Valley ventures. You probably won't survive this level of corporate dysfunction without developing a serious caffeine addiction and trust issues. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Feel free to drop your location and local time in the comments below. Now, sit back and let's dive into today's alternate journey together. You watch helplessly as Apple's stock price circles the drain, trading at historically low levels that make penny stocks look expensive. You watch Apple's product lineup become a confusing maze of beige boxes that all look like they were designed by a committee of accountants. The Power Macintosh computers sit on store shelves like forgotten relics, their bland cases screaming boring office equipment to anyone within eyeshot. Without Jobs' obsessive attention to design, Apple's engineers focus purely on technical specifications while completely ignoring user experience. You witness the company releasing 17 different computer models simultaneously, each with confusing names like Power Macintosh 7300/180, that sound like nuclear reactor serial numbers. The marketing department struggles to explain why anyone should choose Apple over cheaper Windows PCs that run the same software. Store displays showcase computers that look identical to every other manufacturer's products, lacking any distinctive personality or visual appeal. You observe Apple's design philosophy shifting from think different to think like everyone else but charge more money. Creative professionals, Apple's core customer base, begin abandoning the platform for Windows machines that offer better software compatibility. The company's industrial design team gets restructured into irrelevance, their innovative ideas buried under layers of corporate bureaucracy. You see Apple products become indistinguishable from generic PC clones, losing the premium brand positioning that once justified higher prices. Consumer electronics stores relegate Apple computers to dusty back corners, giving prime shelf space to Dell and Compaq systems. The technology press stops covering Apple announcements, treating the company as an also-ran in the personal computer industry. You witness Bill Gates achieving his ultimate fantasy as Microsoft's dominance becomes so complete that antitrust concerns seem almost quaint. Windows 98 launches to massive fanfare, while Apple's latest operating system update gets mentioned in a brief footnote on tech blogs. The personal computer market transforms into a Microsoft monoculture where innovation stagnates because competition has essentially vanished. You watch Office suites become the only productivity software that matters, as Apple's alternatives fade into obscurity. Internet Explorer reaches near universal adoption since there's no Safari browser to challenge Microsoft's web standards. The technology industry settles into a comfortable routine of incremental updates rather than revolutionary breakthroughs. You observe Microsoft's stock price soaring to astronomical heights as investors realize they're betting on the only horse in the race. Computer manufacturers become mere hardware assemblers, following Microsoft's specifications without questioning design decisions or user experience. The phrase personal computer becomes synonymous with Windows machine in everyday language. You see software developers abandoning any pretense of cross-platform compatibility since Apple's market share hovers near statistical irrelevance. Microsoft's corporate culture grows increasingly complacent as the company faces no meaningful competition in the desktop operating system space. Technology conferences become Microsoft showcases where competing platforms receive token acknowledgement at best. You watch Sony executives celebrate as their digital audio players dominate the portable music revolution that Apple never disrupts. The Sony VIO Music Clip and other early MP3 players established the Japanese giant as the undisputed leader in digital music consumption. Music lovers grudgingly accept clunky interfaces and limited storage capacities because no elegant alternative emerges to challenge the status quo. You observe record labels maintaining their stranglehold on music distribution, since no iTunes store appears to democratize digital music sales. Napster's peer-to-peer file sharing continues wreaking havoc on the music industry without any legal alternative providing convenient purchasing options. Creative Labs' Nomad Jukebox becomes the premium choice for audiophiles despite its brick-like design and confusing menu systems. You witness the music industry's digital transformation moving at glacial speed as companies focus on copy protection rather than user experience. Portable music remains a niche market for tech enthusiasts, rather than becoming the universal lifestyle accessory it could have been. The concept of carrying your entire music library in your pocket stays confined to science fiction novels and technology magazines. You see teenagers continuing to carry bulky CD players and Walkmans well into the 2000s because digital alternatives remain too complicated. Music discovery happens primarily through radio and MTV since no algorithm-driven recommendation systems emerge from consumer electronics companies. The phrase, "there's an app for that," never enters popular vocabulary because mobile applications remain primitive and limited. You witness Nokia's engineers in Finland celebrating as their brick-like phones evolve into the world's first truly successful smartphones without any Cupertino competition. The Nokia Communicator series becomes the gold standard for business professionals who need email and basic internet access on the go. BlackBerry devices dominate corporate America as Research in Motion builds an unassailable empire around secure messaging and physical keyboards. You observe smartphone interfaces remaining clunky and stylus-dependent, since no company prioritizes intuitive touchscreen experiences. Mobile internet browsing stays painfully slow and frustrating because no manufacturer pushes carriers to improve data networks aggressively. The concept of a smartphone as an entertainment device never materializes since these early models focus purely on business productivity. You watch teenagers and young adults stick with flip phones and texting because smartphones remain expensive business tools rather than lifestyle accessories. App stores don't exist in any meaningful form since mobile software remains limited to pre-installed manufacturer applications. Mobile gaming stays confined to simple Snake variants and basic puzzle games that run on primitive operating systems. You see the smartphone market developing along predictable incremental lines rather than experiencing revolutionary disruption. Nokia's Symbian operating system becomes the Windows of mobile devices, achieving dominance through market momentum rather than elegant design. The phrase smartphone revolution takes on a much more gradual meaning as innovation proceeds at a conservative corporate pace. You watch Microsoft's tablet PC initiative stumble forward as the only major attempt to create portable computing devices with touchscreen capabilities. These early tablet computers weigh as much as laptops while offering half the functionality, creating a product category that nobody particularly wants. The stylus becomes the primary input method since no company develops sophisticated multi-touch interfaces that respond to finger gestures. You observe business presentations continuing to rely on traditional laptops because tablet PCs can't handle PowerPoint smoothly or display crisp graphics. Digital artists remain frustrated with clunky, pressure-sensitive screens that lack the precision and responsiveness needed for professional creative work. E-readers like Amazon's Kindle dominate the portable reading market since no elegant tablet emerges to combine books, magazines, and multimedia content. You witness the tablet form factor remaining a niche curiosity for tech enthusiasts rather than becoming a mainstream consumer device. Educational institutions stick with traditional textbooks and desktop computers because tablets offer no compelling advantages for classroom learning. The concept of casual computing while lounging on a couch never develops since existing tablets feel too heavy and awkward. You see mobile entertainment remaining confined to dedicated gaming devices like Nintendo's DS, rather than expanding to general-purpose tablets. Magazine and newspaper publishers continue struggling with digital distribution, since no intuitive platform emerges for consuming visual media. The phrase tablet revolution never enters common usage because these devices remain expensive solutions looking for problems to solve. You witness technology products maintaining their utilitarian aesthetic as no company emerges to champion minimalist, user-friendly design principles. Consumer electronics continue resembling industrial equipment with excessive buttons, confusing interfaces, and uninspiring gray plastic cases. The concept of design thinking never penetrates mainstream technology companies who prioritize features over form and functionality over elegance. You observe software interfaces remaining cluttered with overwhelming menus and options that intimidate casual users rather than welcoming them. Product packaging stays purely functional without any consideration for unboxing experiences or emotional connections with customers. Technology marketing focuses exclusively on technical specifications rather than lifestyle benefits or aspirational messaging about creativity and innovation. You see the digital divide widening as complex interfaces exclude elderly users and non-technical demographics from participating in technological progress. Industrial design remains an afterthought at most companies where engineers make aesthetic decisions without consulting actual designers or user experience experts. The phrase, "it just works," never becomes a selling point because most technology requires extensive manuals and technical support. You watch competitors copy each other's boring designs rather than taking risks with bold aesthetic choices that might differentiate their products. User testing stays limited to functionality checks rather than exploring emotional responses or intuitive interactions with technology products. The technology industry develops a reputation for creating powerful but intimidating products that only appeal to dedicated enthusiasts and professionals. You watch Netflix launch its DVD by mail service and later streaming platform without any iTunes store having established the template for digital content distribution. Music streaming develops along different lines as Spotify pioneers subscription models without Apple's influence on pricing structures and artist compensation. The concept of purchasing individual songs remains dominated by physical CD sales and limited online stores with restrictive digital rights management. You observe content creators struggling to reach audiences directly since no unified platform emerges to democratize media distribution and monetization. Television networks maintain their stranglehold on video content because no Apple TV device challenges traditional cable and broadcast models. Podcast culture develops more slowly without iTunes providing a centralized discovery and distribution platform for independent audio creators. You witness digital magazines and newspapers experimenting with various subscription models since no app store creates standardized in-app purchasing systems. The phrase, "cutting the cord," takes longer to enter mainstream vocabulary as streaming services remain fragmented and difficult to navigate. Independent filmmakers continue relying heavily on traditional distribution channels because digital platforms lack sophisticated recommendation algorithms. You see music labels maintaining more control over artist revenues since no major platform successfully negotiates industry-wide licensing agreements. Video content consumption stays primarily appointment-based around network schedules rather than evolving into on-demand binge-watching culture. The creator economy develops differently without standardized digital storefronts that enable small producers to reach global audiences efficiently. You witness Google's rise accelerating as the search giant expands into hardware and consumer electronics without facing Apple's premium competition. Amazon's Kindle becomes the undisputed tablet king, while their Alexa voice assistants dominate smart home integration without Siri challenging their supremacy. The race for trillion-dollar valuation becomes a two-horse competition between Google's advertising empire and Amazon's e-commerce dominance. You observe Samsung filling the premium smartphone void with Galaxy devices that face no iPhone competition in the luxury mobile market. Tesla's electric vehicle revolution proceeds without any parallel innovation pressure from Apple's rumored automotive ambitions, creating additional industry disruption. The smart home ecosystem develops around Google's Nest products and Amazon's Echo devices since no HomeKit alternative emerges from Cupertino. You watch artificial intelligence development concentrating primarily at Google and Microsoft, since no Apple Silicon chips push mobile AI processing capabilities forward. Cloud computing becomes a duopoly between Amazon Web Services and Microsoft Azure, without Apple's privacy-focused iCloud challenging their data practices. The subscription economy evolves differently as companies model themselves after Amazon Prime rather than Apple's App Store recurring revenue strategies. You see wearable technology remaining a niche market dominated by fitness trackers since no Apple Watch creates mainstream smartwatch adoption. Augmented reality development stays confined to enterprise applications without consumer-friendly AR experiences driving mass market interest. The technology industry's center of gravity shifts more decisively towards Seattle and Mountain View as Silicon Valley loses its most iconic comeback story. You contemplate a world where breakthrough technologies arrive on fundamentally different timelines without Apple's relentless innovation pressure driving industry acceleration. Artificial intelligence development might have concentrated more heavily in research institutions rather than racing toward consumer applications and mobile integration. The electric vehicle revolution could have proceeded more gradually without Apple's rumored automotive ambitions, spurring additional investment and competition. You observe social media platforms evolving differently since mobile, first design principles never become industry standard without iPhone influence. Privacy concerns in technology might have developed along different trajectories without Apple's marketing emphasis on user data protection. The app economy could have remained fragmented across multiple platforms rather than consolidating around standardized store models and revenue sharing. You witness touch interface design progressing more slowly since no iPhone demonstrates the superiority of finger-based navigation over stylus input. Digital photography might have advanced differently without iPhone cameras pushing computational photography and instant sharing capabilities forward. The concept of technology as fashion accessory develops more gradually since no Apple products successfully merge functionality with luxury brand positioning. You see emerging markets accessing technology through different pathways without affordable iPhones, democratizing smartphone adoption globally. Voice assistant technology could have remained primarily text-based without Siri demonstrating consumer appetite for conversational interfaces. The entire trajectory of human-computer interaction might have followed more conservative patterns without Apple's influence on intuitive design principles. You slowly step back from this alternate timeline, watching the ripple effects of one man's absence reshape decades of technological progress. The world without Steve Jobs' return isn't necessarily worse, just profoundly different in ways both subtle and dramatic. Innovation still happens, but it follows more predictable corporate patterns rather than the bold leaps that redefined entire industries. You realize how much our current reality depends on singular moments when visionary leaders choose to take unprecedented risks. Perhaps this alternate world develops more sustainable business practices without Apple's planned obsolescence influencing industry standards. Maybe privacy concerns emerge earlier as governments and consumers grow wary of unchecked corporate data collection without Apple's marketing pivot. The pace of change might feel less overwhelming for older generations who struggle to adapt to rapidly evolving interfaces. You consider whether delayed smartphone adoption could have prevented some negative social media effects on mental health and democracy. Technology might serve more utilitarian purposes rather than becoming the lifestyle obsession that defines modern consumer culture. Innovation cycles could follow more deliberate timelines, allowing thorough testing and refinement before mass market release. The creative industries might have developed different tools and workflows without Apple's influence on digital content creation standards. You wonder whether this alternate world's technology landscape would ultimately prove more democratic and accessible to diverse global populations. As you return to our timeline, one question lingers. Did we gain more than we lost when that iconic figure walked back through Cupertino's doors?